In this video, I would like to talk about making measurements with the digital multimeter. In the lab we have the Agilent, or now Keysight 34401A 6.5 digit multimeter. The multimeter can make many measurements, but today we're going to focus on measuring DC resistance, DC voltage, and DC current. To do that, I'm going to use this resistive divider. I've taken two 500 ohm resistors and connected them in series. The first thing I'm going to do is verify that I do have 500 ohm resistors. So on the functions, I choose ohms to W, and the W in this case stands for wire. You could also make a 4-wire measurement, but that will not be covered in today's video. So I'll connect the low to the bottom side of one resistor, and I'll connect the high to the top side of that resistor. And you see that I have 0.5 kiloohms, or 500 ohms. Now, they were 510 ohms nominally, but 503.7 ohms is within the tolerance of the resistor. So now I'll move my connections, and I'll measure the other resistor. And I have again 501 ohms, 0.501 kiloohms. And to verify that they are indeed in series, I can measure across both of the resistors, and I have 1 kiloohm. The next thing I want to do is set up my power supply to provide 4 volts. So I'm going to press the 0.6 volts and display the limit. I'll turn the knob until I get to 4 volts, and then I'll press voltage current and set a current limit of 100 milliamps for both my safety and in case I've wired something wrong, I won't burn up the components. And I'll turn that output on. So now I would like to connect this circuit to the power supply. And so I have 4 volts going into the top of my voltage divider and the ground at the bottom. And we're going to measure that the middle of it indeed measures half of 4 volts, which will be 2 volts. So I press DC voltage, and I'm going to take a wire and connect it from the input V for voltage to the middle of my voltage divider. I'll take another wire and I'll connect the ground of my power supply to the ground, or the low input, of the digital multimeter. Now what this is doing is saying that I'm making voltage measurements relative to my power supply. And in the middle I have 1.996 volts, or 2 volts, half of the input. If I measure the top of my resistive divider, I have 4 volts, which is the input voltage directly. And if I measure the bottom, I should have 0 volts, which is the ground. And 0.16 millivolts is very close to 0. So the next thing that I want to measure is the current flowing through my resistive divider. Now if I have approximately 1 kiloohm of resistance and 4 volts, V equals IR says I should have 4 milliamps of current going through this resistive divider. So the first thing I do is I select DCI. To do that I press Shift and then DCV, and that chooses current measurement. And you can tell that you've done it correctly because you'll have a measurement in amps DC, or in this case milliamps DC. So I have to break my circuit to measure the current flowing through it. First thing I'll do is I will set it up that the output voltage goes from the plus 6 volts to the input I of the DMM. The current will flow through the DMM, which makes a measurement, into the top of the resistive divider, through the series resistors, and then back into the power supply. So you see that the digital multimeter is in line with the circuit. So I have current once again leaving from the plus 6 volts, going into the input I of the DMM, coming out of the low, going into my resistive divider, going through the series resistors, and then back to the ground. And you'll see that I have 3.96 milliamps DC, which is very close to the 4 milliamps that we expected. If you have any questions about using the digital multimeter to make DC measurements, please come see the lab staff or ask your TAs. Thank you. Bye.